Everyone to the Dev Fireside Chat. My name is Mika. I'm joined here tonight. We have a smaller group today, but no big deal because we have a lot of news to cover and different things that's been going on this week. We have Icarus, who's our stream specialist, and Howard from the office. So welcome aboard, guys.
Yeah, why would you? Who cares about the size of the group?
Look,
as long as I'm here, right?
Oh, we're just like little moons around your gigantic planet, right? Is that what it is? Huh?
He's more
Yeah,
like Jupiter.
Sounds egotistical, but
well,
you know, but truthfully, well,
it's more pragmatist.
It's not like Wendy. No, it's not like Wendy rambles and stuff, right? Like I'm the one who rambles.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think we all ramble a little bit here and there. So
no, Wendy's actually off to a con.
Czech Republic.
In Brno, Czech Republic. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, she's going to Brno.
I've actually driven. I've actually driven by it. I just didn't get a chance to visit the city.
Yeah. I remember you took that trip to Eastern Europe. How was that, by the way? I don't think you really got into detail about it during the streams.
Oh, really? It was amazing.
I don't recall. Yeah.
Loved it. Because it's my first time. It was my first time to, my first and only time, of course, to the Czech Republic and to Hungary. Yeah, it's I love the place. It's amazing.
You did talk about mountain climbing out there.
Oh no!
It was involving mountain climbing.
I try to find a bouldering gym.
Yeah.
Whichever city I go to, and I did manage to find a bouldering gym, outside of Prague. I'm pretty sure there's a better one, but the one I found, oh man, it's a trek to get out there. I was really worried about my safety, about getting mugged, because it's really out in the middle of between auto repair parts, shops and
some really shady street or something.
Yeah. No, probably not shady, but just there's not a lot of lights or
darker.
It just kind of sets the spook on. Yeah.
It's it's sort of this industrial part of town.
Same here, actually.
Yeah. Actually, Kairos is from Slovakia, so he's the neighbor next to Czech Republic. So he gets to hear all the noise that those guys make over there. I've been to Prague myself.
I went to a couple of small towns. But mainly I stayed in Prague, and it is because they have a lot of EU money poured in, and there's a ton of tourists, right?
But they also the kroner there too.
Yeah, the hotel was it was packed with tourists, but it was a beautiful, beautiful city, super cheap.
It is a really pretty city. That city is layered in history, man. You see everything from medieval to communist era to new modern buildings. You're what is this place? It's a patchwork. And
actually for sort of this more throwback, because Prague is actually more developed. Budapest though is you get to see a lot of the throwback 50s 60s really really cool stuff. So they have escalator subways from a few decades ago.
Oh, the deep really ones cool. That go really deep.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then they have and they have really old maybe trains from the cars from the 60s, and they have trams the street cars from the 60s and stuff. It's really cool, and it makes the city that much more I guess beautiful and charming, I think. And
if you ever get the chance, you should do it in Moscow too. Check out the subways there. It's crazy different.
Well, I guess if I go to
so
Moscow,
different from New York subways.
Yeah, if I go to Moscow now, I probably won't want to hold an American passport. Maybe something else.
Yeah, you'll probably just be held up for a half hour. That's what happens to me. So, and I was Norwegian now, and they're "This is not you." I'm this is definitely me. Just I had a visa because you have to take a visa picture. So it's you have a picture from 30 days ago at least, or up to max 30 days ago, So it's a very fresh picture, and they're still there. The hair's out of place. You must be a different person, oh, okay, thanks, But I was just very unlucky. My girlfriend got through no problem. So
and the thing with Budapest is that it's more, I guess, quote unquote, undiscovered. So there's not a lot of tourist traffic, which is great because you can just wander the streets and neighborhoods and whatnot, without having to deal with the tourist swarm, which can get pretty massive in different parts of Prague. So yeah,
there's a really interesting. I found out I love reading about history, right? And with Hungary, that's a very interesting country when it comes to the interwar years between World War I and World War II. It was ruled by an admiral who, like, he ruled a country as the regent of a monarchy that didn't exist in a country that was landlocked as an admiral, right? Like, crazy wild. I love it. I guess it was like from a earlier time frame or something when they had coastal access, but you know, still, I don't know, peculiar things when I see history and reading about it. So, but yeah, Budapest is actually 2 cities, isn't it? Like, it's just merged together over time, or something.
Yeah, from what I know, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think interestingly, like, because Budapest or just Hungary in general, it's like the cross. It was the cross cultural and migrational crossroads in a lot of different places. They had like a lot of like say they have a Serb immigrant population.
Oh right, okay.
You know, they had essentially like, I guess a Jewish Orthodox or like just an Orthodox like church type of element.
In the city itself, like lots of communities.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And so there's like a lot of like different types of architectural influences that are like fused into into the Hungarian or at least the Budapest architecture, which makes it like pretty interesting. So like it's kind of so like I'll walk into the church and I'll just be like talking to I guess the clergy to try to learn about the different like like architectural cultural influences, is like whatever things like that is pretty it's definitely interesting to I mean. And also like I think with the cool thing is that with Prague and Budapest, with Czech Republic and Hungary, there's actually they're amazing like musical influences, right? So like I will go to like a like a sort of a restaurant cafe, and just hear like gypsy bands play, and it's amazing. Like Hungary, like Budapest has, like it's, the city of like Franz Liszt and, Prague's like Dvorak. So like there's a lot of
culture there.
Yeah, and churches.
The churches are breathtaking, man. Holy crap!
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I've been to like a couple of cathedrals in Europe, but the one in Prague, I mean, because like that used to be like that. Prague was like the capital city for some of the old Holy Roman emperors. So like they poured money into the city, like they would, and you could see it. Yeah. It was like, whoa, geez.
Yeah, definitely. And so like the churches have like free music. I went to an organ concert.
Organ concert in Czech. In Czechia.
Oh no, in Budapest actually.
In Budapest, wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Nice. An organ concert. That's pretty awesome. Wow.
Oh, I've been to a few. Like if you have been to an organ concerts are awesome, right? Especially if they play like say Bach fugues and stuff.
I don't think I've been to a proper organ concert. I've been to like concerts involving organs, but I don't think it would be defined as such, maybe. So, and for those of you who are new to the recording, from this last weekend, welcome. This is like our sort of weekly recap of what's going on. Sometimes we get a little off topic, and this is just one of those moments. We just it's been a busy day for everyone here, so we're happy to talk about things. All things in like Hungary and Czech Republic, because why not? I guess to segue into that, we had the Memorial giveaway, weekend giveaway. That was pretty popular. There was a lot of players online. Do you have any kind of interesting insights to share with us about what you've observed from the weekend, from our own experiences, Howard?
Memorial Day weekend. Like, I mean, because I went to Minnesota. Like I went to Minneapolis for the first time. I mean, it may be the last time, but I was there. Right, no thanks.
It's a lot of first and last, but hey, it's cool. You can check it off your list.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a cool town, right? Like, but I mean, I went there for
you like step off the bus. You're like, this place.
No.
Never again. Just walk it off.
No. Yeah. I actually legitimately enjoyed my time in Minneapolis, but like it usually, like, unless
that's in Minnesota, right?
Then Yeah. Like unless I have a
Scandinavians live up
specific
there.
reason to go back to,
Yeah.
then it's hard for me to imagine going back to like Minneapolis.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, right.
like you know,
Like you've done it, but you're not
multiple-
really interested in going back. There's nothing to draw you back again. frankly.
right. Like
Okay.
you know,
Fair enough. Everyone has their taste, you know. It's all cool. There's a lot of Swedes out there, actually. Scandinavians, like farmers that have
it's a
moved out to
really
Minnesota.
clean and beautiful city. It's just like because I mean, unless I have an impetus. I mean, I can say that
Mhm.
you know about a lot of places, right? Like unless I have a very specific.
No, that's a fair
impetus
point.
to-
There's some places that do stink and are messy, and it's nice to know.
No.
some cities to clean up after
No.
themselves.
Minneapolis is actually not that. It's actually a very clean and beautiful
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. I'm
It's
just
like-
saying it's not a bad thing to mention that because there is actually a contrast between cities for sure.
Well, I guess what I mean is that. So, for example, like even Chicago. Chicago is like a really cool place, right?
Mhm.
But I feel like I've done just about everything in Chicago, right? Like, so unless I have a specific reason, such as my, you know, brother and sister-in-law live there,
Uh-huh.
right? So, and you know, obviously, I want to go visit my nephew. So, like, usually we'll go to Chicago every year.
Mhm.
But if they don't live there, though, like, I don't really have an impetus to go back to Chicago, right? Even
Right.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Anyway,
the same for my parents. Like they live in Ohio, and if they move to Florida or something, I mean, I've had friends in Ohio, but like I'm probably not going to be going back very often as much as I used to. Like,
yeah,
it's just not impetus, like you said.
so anyways, I was in Minneapolis for the weekend. So a lot, you know, some of my time is spent like doing, you know, family stuff. But obviously we had the giveaway going on.
Yep, fireworks and all.
So hopefully, you know, people got to check out the game, enjoy the game, and whatnot. Obviously, for anybody who's new, check out the game. We really appreciate it. It's amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely do more like, you know, promos. Just, you know, I mean, we always try to take advantage of sales and promo opportunities, and this is just one of the promo opportunities that came our way. And we never tried it in this format on Steam before. So it was the first, you know, it's a new experience for us. We want to see how it goes. So there it is. You know, obviously, you know, some people like I got a few players who were like, oh, you know, just got the game. Well, it's free, and you know, obviously, like if you really feel like that's an issue, because I mean, I do want to say that, like, you know, with sales, I mean, it's hard when there's opportunity. We always want to come our way. We also want to take advantage of opportunities when they come our way. Whether that's like, you know, a set Steam sale, or whether that's like, you know, a sale that, you know, we're qualified for, or we're featured for, you know, giveaway on different scales, which we've done in the past, you know, like for a limited time. We always want to take advantage as a developer. We always want to take advantage of these opportunities to, you know, try to get new players in, right? I think it's kind of imperative, especially when we make a multiplayer game. So obviously that can at times create, you know, price discrepancy on when people, you know, how much people buy the game for at different times. You know, like I feel like most of the time, vast majority of the time, people don't have a problem. I mean, it's just a kind of a built-in, you know, thing in the different distribution platforms, right? Like it happens. It always happens. But of course, like, you know, if people feel like, oh shoot, you know, they missed out on an opportunity, or oh shoot, you know, they wish they had like gotten a chance for, but just email us, you know, to the feedback email, and we usually do our best to take care of people. And you know, this weekend is no exception. You know, there are a few people who'll be like, oh shoot, I bought the game like just now and whatever. Like we usually try to help.
Yeah, we'll compensate you with something.
Yeah.
For that. Yeah. Actually, I did want to like mention. It slipped my mind just for a moment, but we did turn on the fireworks, but it wasn't necessarily for the Memorial Day. It was actually because a good friend of our company and a big contributor to the gaming industry as a whole passed away last week. It was I think it was on a Thursday when it happened. Total Biscuit. That's his alias on the internet, at least. So he was a really big contributor to everything, especially in like the consumer protections kind of discussions and all that thing. But he helped develop a lot of aspects of having a discussion about what the best way forward for companies to consider is, you know, and that's, he was he was definitely a vibrant voice in the community, and it's a shame that all this happened so quickly for him. But we had the fireworks up for him in that regard, and we do cherish the times we had with him. He was a great player, great asset to helping us build what we have today. So rest in peace, man. But that said, we also have a few other things going on as well. If you guys are not aware, there is we have like a sort of, I guess you can say it's sort of like a public testing, because there's been debate about how the Stormbreaker should be designed. And, we've had it in testing now for a few weeks. And so a lot of the feedback has been felt a really kind of even, very contrasted between two sides. So we felt, why not just test it out for 2 weeks on the game itself and see what players think when they put it into live fire action. And so far we've got a lot of feedback. But if you have tried this and you're not aware of these changes, and you've seen what the Stormbreaker was like before, let us know what you think. Or even if this is your first time trying it out, let us know what you think about that and how it feels. What would you change if you felt there was something that needed to change on it, or do you feel it's in a really good spot right now? We're always interested in hearing about it, and we definitely have team members working very hard at trying to find a nice medium that everyone can work with when it comes to this. Balance is like a really tricky thing in multiplayer games, especially with PvP. Wouldn't you agree, Howard? By the way, did you guys hear about the announcement? Bethesda, I think, is trying to make this online Fallout game. My first thought was like, man, are they going to learn from what other online games have done, like Rust and Ark, for example?
Well, it's just a rumor, the online survival RPG.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be online from the articles I've read so far, but it is a lot of speculation, right? It's a little too early to tell. But if that was the case, online games can be pretty challenging to balance for. Arguably, I would say we've probably had a lot of an easier time balancing for PvE than we did for balancing PvP. Simply because
they are Bethesda after all. So somehow, I'm not, somehow I'm not terribly concerned that, anything will be a monumental challenge for them.
No, I imagine they'll put a lot of effort into it nevertheless. But it does go without saying that it probably will be challenging. You want to create a balanced experience when you're having engagements with each other, especially if it's PvP, and not feel like it's griefing or something. Like a grind, and then you build up all this stuff, and you lose it all at once, and you're like, this is stupid, So trying to find that nice balance between what you can lose and gain in the progression of things, that has its own thing as well. But we've learned a lot of things doing it with Guns of Icarus. So, and it's still a process we're moving through because we're always trying to change the meta up a little bit, keep people on their toes and try new tactics and styles and ships, for that matter. So that's what keeps it fresh for our community as far as that goes. But if you guys haven't seen the new changes or you wanted to check out more of it, it'll be around for another week, I believe. Another week. So check it out. Let us know, and you can find the survey actually on our start screen as well as in the game. There's events that say Stormbreaker trials. Yes, and I have that kind of pinging every 12 or 6 hours. So if you happen to see, you can click on that, or you can just go to the community section under events and you find it there. So on other fronts. There's been some feedback from players, and there's been some discussion internally, and I think it's kind of an amalgam of a lot of different ideas put together, but we have been kind of discussing some of the concepts behind what right now we're just calling it a Battle Royale format. I don't know how much we can go into this, Howard, so I'll let you kind of guide me along here, what we can discuss as far as that goes, but there's been a lot of ideas so far.
No, I mean this, we're focusing on a single idea right now. And it's kind of like the WWE Tag Team Royal Rumble type of thing. So basically, it's just getting outside of the traditional red team versus blue team format. So we're creating a structure where we can allow 3 teams and 4 teams to battle in the same match. Mm-hmm. So it's 2 versus 2 versus 2 and potentially versus another 2, right? into basically just in this type of like, tag team PvP format.
Yep.
The best it's gonna be like, oh, whichever team reaches, whatever kill count first wins. But it'll be a lot more chaotic, I think, and it'll allow like for, obviously multiple teams, so it's not, always going to be symmetrical. So another thing that we are actually experimenting with, we're working on is like, so for example, if you have like a 2v2v2 or even a 2v2, allow for like additional teams be AI. So you potentially, it's kind of a mixed format where you'll have it's a kind of Royal Rumble, but like some additional ships will be AI ships, and that would be like pretty fun. So
Three-way. I mean,
if people get competitive like in a three-way format, just kill the AI, right? So at least the AI will finish last, most likely.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, so we're actually actively working on this already, and we should have a internally testable prototype for us to play around with, just to make sure we work out the initial kinks by next week, and hopefully soon, because we'll need some UI adjustments for this, obviously, but pretty soon. We should be able to allow people to test this as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I mean, because people have been clamoring for additional PvP
kind of modes.
Yeah, modes.
Formats, yeah.
So
this will be fun. It's
the first mode that we've done in a while since Skyball.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, technically, we had Blockade introduced in PvE, but in PvP, you're right. Yeah. I guess we should like consider, because like most of our alliance wars have so far been only two sides, and I'm kind of interested in exploring something similar to that as well with the three, because we do have 6 factions. You can break them up into pairing factions as well. So maybe down the road we could see something like that as well. That would be really interesting to see how an alliance war in a 3-way struggle would be, and how that would like pan out.
Yeah, we haven't. That is interesting. I mean, that's like a different situation, but
yeah.
But for now, that's the scope of the mode that we're working on.
Cool. Yeah, Battle Royale, folks. Keep an eye out for that. We'll make more announcements in the future. So, speaking of which, war progression. So,
actually,
those of you who...
that, I do want to talk a little bit about the European privacy law. The new European privacy
go ahead.
law.
That's actually really important. Definitely. Yeah. Explain how this all affects us in terms of what this all does. Like, actually,
did I cut out?
Oh, yeah, maybe a little bit. You there?
So I said that, I said that, I want to talk about the European privacy law for a little bit. The GDPR, law that just passed, and what does that mean for us and for players? So for us, it's like we've actively done a few things about it to actively address this, and as have a lot of developers, I think. So first of all, we did have a new privacy policy that we just put up recently in the player terms of use stuff that people accepted it. So like that is a already an active thing that we have done. So just to, so that there is something, so that for sure there's something like that up front in place to protect player privacy and so on, at least to have the terms of use be clearly spelled out. We don't really do, like the player data, whatever, it's just, they're player data, right? Like we're not really, we don't really use it for like marketing purposes. It's not like, Facebook or whatever to makes money off of advertisements, or, we serve you ads or whatever. So we generally don't, I mean, we're as a game dev, like in a game, we generally don't deal with that type of stuff anyway. But so in concern about like, subscription to the newsletter and collecting people's email and registration, we collect email. Some people have asked like, hey, why do you need to register or whatever? The email registration allows us to do a few things. One, support. So we'll have your contact for support. We'll have, in the rare cases that we need it, we have your contact for moderation purposes. We'll also have your email contact for forums to set up your forum account and whatnot. That's not something we use Steam for, because Steam's like, obviously, Steam's user data like is not kept by us; it's kept by Steam. So generally, for people's personal information, because all the transaction stuff goes through Steam. We don't handle that. So really, we keep primarily players' email that we keep. We don't keep other people's like other personal information except player email.
For the record, emails aren't used. Your emails when you register are not used for any mailing lists. That's something you can opt in for, but we would never use that.
Yes.
Well, we don't.
Yes.
Like not to the system.
Yeah, exactly. So we make sure now, especially with the EU stuff, that the newsletter is something that you will need to actively opt in. So if you want to get, usually like the newsletters like news about updates, about like new builds, about community events, and about deals and whatnot, right? Like just what's up with like, so we don't like usually send like junk, so I mean, so like, oh shoot, I went to the dentist appointment, I'm not going to tell you that. But where people like want to opt in, they're actually absolutely welcome to opt in. And we don't so I mean that's that. So it's like and then obviously the newsletter has an unsubscribe link that you can click to unsubscribe. So that loop should be solid. And the last thing is that, so the privacy law does basically allow players to tell us that they want to have their data removed. And a couple of players have sent in, maybe they're no longer playing the game for whatever reason, they want to have their data removed. So we do that, and we have a process to do that. Essentially we will remove all your player data, basically all your like personal the personal player data, such as email and whatever, from in some instances we will like have, because we track your login. Obviously the connection will log like what IP you're logging in from. We'll basically delete all that data. The one thing to caution is that in the event, like if say for instance, if you ask for your data, we'll actually kill your player name or whatever too. But just be aware that we don't really have like a kind of a login reclaim system. So if you lose your player name, is gone, it's done, right? Like if the next time you log in, you'd be like, oh, I want to register with the same player name. Why can I do that? Oh, it's taken, whatever. It shows that it's taken. It's because we basically, have permanently disabled it, like, basically gotten rid of it, so that if someone happens to want us to kill the data, but later on decide to want to re-register and want to play the game and re-register and whatnot, just note that you'll need to create a new account with a new player name. So that's
this process.
That's something to be cautioned. One thing to be cautioned about.
Yeah, we are really careful about this though. So if a player does request this, if any of you guys end up emailing us and requesting specifically this feature, we will make sure and caution you on specifically these measures, so you are aware that by taking this move, you are deleting that and removing all your access to that information completely. So we're really careful. So, but either way, you're covered, I guess, the way that Howard described here, as far as that the new regulations go. So really useful stuff. So war progression, we're getting pretty close to war. Almost there. Like we're at 70% with some of them. I think baronies has been fluctuating really hardcore because, with all the progression going on with like the huge influx of players coming in, over the weekend and over the course of this week, we're seeing like the numbers fluctuate a lot. So the progression for each of the battles are going to like speed up and slow down really sporadically. So we're going to keep a lot of the missions going, but we'll probably keep low intensity so that you guys can kind of, level out with the activity, and then we'll kind of gradually build you guys up for that war that you're all waiting for. So it should be happening pretty soon, though, because got a few competitors that are moving into make their quotas there. So, and then on the final thing, we do and are going to be doing our DevOps testing. Now, I've been informed that we are not doing DevOps testing tonight. It will be killed tomorrow, Saturday. So regular times, like always. I believe it's something like 3 p.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. Eastern. You can check on the events banner inside the game. It'll show you the exact time. And it even bring you to the forum posts where you can actually join the groups and get in on the discussion as well. Because we have a experimental crew for our Discord. So if you want a live discussion about some of the changes, you can go in there as well. But it's a lot of different changes. I was reading through some of the notes that we're looking at. A couple of different abilities. Pipe Wrench being able to put out 1 stack of fire each time, which is interesting. They're testing that out. Just experimental, probably. Galleon changes, Junker changes, few others that were named, but I'll leave those to be surprises for you guys. So if you want to check them out, DevOps testing tomorrow. So, and of course, after this recording, in about 1 hour's time, you'll be actually able to join the Iron Forker Friday, which has been a traditional event hosted by the K Clan since forever, probably since 2014 or 15. Something like that. So they've been around for a long time.
Maybe 14. Yeah, 14.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So they're going to be hosting that. They have a lot of different game modes. Pretty chill group. Like they're really easygoing, really fun. They just like to have fun, so you can get on that. We also have the Chaos Skirmish Saturday and the Crucible, which are both events that you can sign up for and participate in. One is sort of like a single player, like the Crucible I think is sort of like a single player progression thing. So they have a leadership board that's available in the game as well. You can see where your rankings are at in that. On top of Chaos Skirmish, which is much more like easygoing, join at your own leisure, no sign-up required kind of event. Lots of crazy game modes, really excitable group, lots of like animated discussions, and really like colorful personalities. So it's really fun. Definitely something that's great for you North Americans out there. If you hardcore Europeans though want to stay up for it, it'll be about, I think it's like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. UTC, something like that. It's quite late. So, there's that. But then, of course, on Sunday, we have the Sunday Community Skirmish, which is more of a structured format, 2v2 competitive event. Usually it's sort of like either I think it's round robin or double elimination. So they have their own kind of more tournament, like generally more like veteran level kind of engagements. Of course, it's open to everyone. So if you're new to the game, that doesn't really omit you from being able to apply and sign up with friends if you want. So go ahead and give it a shot and try it out. And then, of course, on Monday, we conclude the whole course of the weekend with some Munker Monday Madness, which is a lot of mines, basically, on Junkers. And it gets really crazy. Been part of a few of them. They're really fun. Happen around 7 p.m. UTC. So it's like 3 p.m. Eastern, So if you're interested in that, hop on in, check them out. Events are going on all weekend. You can check them out through the events panel on the communities page. So I believe that wraps up everything we have going on for this week. So be sure to join us for next week's Dev Games. We'll be having it on Tuesday again at 5 p.m. Eastern, which is 9 p.m. UTC, and Thursday as well. So until then, guys, have yourselves a good weekend. Keep it real, test out things, blow up ships, and keep the skies clear. Take care, guys. Have a good weekend.
Have a good one.